Grand Theft Auto makes it clear that ethics in games is not locked into visible systems, like morality bars or choice trees. Ethics emerges in what the player decides to do with a world that does not care. The mechanics provide almost unlimited freedom, but the player, in practice, narrows that freedom by inventing private rules. Many choose to obey traffic signals, to stop at crosswalks, to roleplay as a lawful version of Franklin or Nico, or to spare lives when the game would never punish them for cruelty. That tension between possibility and self-restraint is the stage where moral imagination unfolds. In GTA 4, the clearest case is Nico's confrontation with Darko. The game does not force you one way or the other, it leaves the choice in your hands. The fact that many players holster the gun, walking away shaken but relieved, shows how digital play becomes an arena for rehearsing restraint. Another moment arises when you must decide between killing Playboy X or Dwayne Forge. Eliminating Playboy rewards you with his luxurious penthouse, a material prize that echoes the logic of capitalist exchange. Sparing Dwayne, however, reinforces loyalty and friendship. Here, GTA confronts the player with a dilemma. Do you prefer comfort and consumption, or solidarity and respect? Even the smaller arcs of GTA 4 highlight these tensions. During Roman's taxi missions, many players avoid collisions, obey speed limits, and treat each passenger as though they mattered, even though the game only counts money and distance. In vigilante missions, the temptation is to cause chaos, but countless players take care to eliminate only the targets, avoiding collateral harm. In online forums and live streams, communities have even articulated codes of civilian respect: no random violence against pedestrians, no stealing parked cars, no weapons unless threatened. The city becomes a canvas where the player paints their own ethic, invisible to the code but real in practice. GTA V expands this stage by embedding ethical challenges into its very systems. Lester's assassination missions are a prime example. If you follow the financial advice closely, you can manipulate the stock market, killing CEOs to maximize profit. Some players, uneasy with the ruthless logic, deliberately minimize or postpone the missions to avoid turning murder into investment strategy. Others embrace the satire and become wealthy, but with a guilty recognition of the system's corruption. Trevor Phillips offers a more grotesque stage for agency. In Trevor Phillips Industries, you can choose to spare Ortega, a rival gang leader. Sparing him feels inconsistent with Trevor's madness, but consistent with the player's refusal to embrace unnecessary cruelty. In Free Roam, Trevor often mutters to himself, jokes about his violent appetites, and lashes out at random. Many players push back, imposing limits that Trevor himself would never observe, turning their avatar into a paradoxical moral experiment, a madman forced into decency by an unseen conscience. The most notorious case is by the book. The torture mission does not allow you to escape complicity. You must use pliers, water, electricity, or blunt force to extract information. Yet players find ways to resist even inside this closed script, choosing waterboarding rather than pulling teeth, easing up on the prompts, or pausing before continuing. The system punishes hesitation with failure, but the player's discomfort lingers long after the mission ends. That discomfort is part of what Richard Rorty calls sentimental education, learning, not through logic, but through felt aversion to cruelty. Players may never recall the mission's plot, but they remember the wince, the revulsion, the moment they wanted to put down the controller. In GTA V's finale, Franklin faces the starkest test. Option A, kill Trevor, is brutal but efficient. Option B, kill Michael, spares the unhinged Trevor but sacrifices the father figure. Option C, Deathwish, is the hardest mechanically but the most solidaristic. Most players choose C, not for loot or efficiency, but because it feels like the right thing. After hours of crime and betrayal, Franklin's refusal to kill his partners becomes a declaration of loyalty. This is not ethics coded by Rockstar, it is ethics performed by the player who chooses to bear the weight of solidarity. Even in the everyday rhythm of Los Santos, ethics is present in the smallest habits. Some players refuse to hit pedestrians, even during high-speed chases, braking hard or weaving through traffic with care. Others roleplay as emergency responders, using mods to drive ambulances, or patrol the city without abusing power. A few players pick up strangers in random events, like the drunk hitchhikers or the stranded motorist, and actually drive them safely instead of abandoning them, returning stolen purses, helping stranded drivers, even respecting the Life Invader parody by imagining privacy matters. These acts make no difference to the game's economy, but they make all the difference to the player's conscience. Philosophy helps us see what is at stake here. Kantian respect shines through when a player refuses to run over pedestrians, treating them as though their digital cries carry dignity. A utilitarian ethic is practiced when a player tries to minimize collateral damage, counting harm the game ignores, like panic traffic or property damage. Virtue ethics is visible when players cultivate styles of character in their play moderation in speed, prudence in combat, courage without cruelty. These rehearsals may not prove anything metaphysical, but they shape habits. Rorty's idea of sentimental education adds another layer. For him, moral progress is not a matter of discovering eternal truths, but of expanding our sympathy, learning to see new forms of cruelty as intolerable. GTA's interactive freedom provides such education. Sparing Darko is not a logical conclusion, it is an emotional refusal to indulge in revenge. Feeling disgust stirred by the book is not a theorem, it is a new capacity for wincing at cruelty. Obeying invented civilian codes is not a discovery of moral law, it is solidarity extended to digital strangers. Rorty calls this the stance of the liberal ironist, skeptical of final vocabularies, but committed to reducing cruelty. GTA functions as a rehearsal space for that attitude. Players test their invented codes in chaos, fail them in anger, and feel regret. The wince of guilt after mowing down a crowd during a chase does more moral work than any explicit reward system. In that wince, the player has learned something about themselves. This does not mean GTA makes players virtuous by default. It does mean the game offers a stage for practicing moral imagination, where cruelty can be indulged and then refused, where solidarity can be enacted in spite of the code. Ethics in GTA is not chosen from a menu. It is enacted in play, when players decide to impose restraint, to rehearse loyalty, to choose compassion where none is required. They turn the simulation of crime into a rehearsal of decency. Rorty would argue that this is how societies progress, not by uncovering final truths, but by expanding sympathy, by learning through narrative and play to find cruelty unbearable and solidarity appealing. Even in Liberty City and Los Santos,